right, let's dive in because the Philadelphia Eagles are heading into one of the most important moments of the summer. And all eyes are on this roster bubble as we close out the preseason. The final warm-up game before the regular season is here, and the opponent is none other than the New York Jets. And you know what that means? For a lot of players, this is it. This is their last audition to prove they belong on the 53-man roster before Tuesday's deadline forces every NFL team to trim down from 90 players to that final group that will officially open the year. And when it comes to Philadelphia, this roster crunch feels even more dramatic than usual because the depth across multiple positions has made competition absolutely fierce. When you start looking at the offensive side of the ball, the picture becomes clearer in certain areas, but a lot murkier in others. Quarterback is always the headline, right? Jalen Hurts is locked in as the starter. That's obvious. Tanner McKee, after a solid offseason, looks like the firm number 2. But beyond those two, things get interesting. The Eagles are deep enough elsewhere that carrying a third quarterback on the active roster isn't a guarantee. Kyle McCord has been getting those QB2 snaps, while McKee dealt with a finger issue, which put McCord temporarily ahead of Dorian Thompson-Robinson in the pecking order. But let's be honest, neither has been particularly impressive, and when you're battling for QB3 on a team this talented, you've got to do more than just tread water. The question is whether Philadelphia tries to stash one of them on the practice squad or risks cutting them and hoping they clear waivers. It's the kind of roster chess match that makes this time of year so stressful for players and so fascinating for fans. At running back, the front of the depth chart looks like a powerhouse. Saquon Barkley is obviously the feature back, the engine that will carry this ground attack. Behind him, rookie Will Shipley has already done enough to secure a role as the clear number 2. The real debate comes with A.J. Dillon. Now, a lot of people are skeptical, saying there's no way the Eagles would cut a player like Dillon. But when roster Tetris comes into play, nothing is off the table. Because if you're deep at other positions and you want to protect a younger player with upside, sometimes a veteran like Dillon ends up being the odd man out. Thanks to his experience, Philadelphia could cut him and then bring him back on the practice squad without him having to clear waivers. That's the kind of flexibility Howie Roseman always looks for, so don't be shocked if that scenario actually plays out. Wide receiver is another fascinating group. A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith are not only roster locks, they're among the best duos in the league. Jahan Dotson is another safe bet, and the trade for John Mechie sealed his place. You don't give up a player and draft capital this late in the offseason just to cut him. That means the fight is really for the final couple of spots. Darius Cooper has been flashing with the first-team offense, catching passes from Jalen Hurts, running routes with confidence, and looking like he belongs. On top of that, he's been contributing on special teams, which is often the difference maker for a depth wide receiver. That's why it feels like Cooper is right on the edge of being a lock, even though technically he's still in that bubble conversation. Behind him, Johnny Wilson and Aeneas Smith are also battling. Wilson's injury complicates things, and if he starts the year on the physically unable to perform list, that could open the door for someone else to stick around. Terrace Marshall and Elijah Cooks just haven't shown enough, so it feels like their time in Philadelphia may already be coming to an end. Tight end is another position where the Eagles are playing the numbers game. Dallas Goedert is locked in as the star of the group, and Grant Calcaterra is the secondary option. The trade that sent Harrison Bryant away for John Mechie shows that Philadelphia is comfortable rolling with only 2 tight ends on the initial 53, then potentially bringing one back on the practice squad and elevating him when needed. Kylan Grandson and E.J. Jenkins are both fighting for that emergency spot, with Jenkins currently ahead. It's the kind of battle where one strong preseason performance could swing things, and that's exactly why this Jets game matters so much for both of them. Now, the offensive line has always been the backbone of the Eagles, and 2025 looks no different. Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Tyler Steen, and Lane Johnson are your starting 5, and they're as solid as it gets. Behind them, Drew Kendall is a lock as the backup center, especially with Jurgens coming off back surgery. Matt Pryor's versatility to play both guard and tackle makes him invaluable. And then you've got players like Cameron Williams, Miles Hinton, Kendall Lamb, Trevor Keegan, and Sean Derek Powell fighting for the remaining slots. Some of them have struggled in live action. Others have been quietly hidden by the coaching staff, which usually means they're high on the player and don't want too much tape out there. It's another example of how roster politics and strategy play into these decisions just as much as raw performance. On the defensive side, things get just as complicated. The interior defensive line is stacked, with Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Moro Ojomo, Ty Robinson, and Gabe Hall all looking like safe bets. Carter and Davis are obvious stars, and Robinson has impressed in camp. The fact that Philadelphia moved Thomas Booker makes it even clearer that Hall has earned a spot, despite being undrafted just a year ago. Edge rusher is also loaded. Nolan Smith, Jalen Hunt, Josh Uche, and Azeez Ojulari form a dangerous rotation. Inside linebacker, which has long been an afterthought for Howie Roseman, might actually be one of the deepest positions on the roster. Zach Bond, Jahad Campbell, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and Smail Mondon have all shown flashes, and suddenly you're asking the rare question in Philadelphia: which talented linebacker is going to have to take a back seat? Cornerback is where the spotlight really heats up. Quinyon Mitchell is the crown jewel of the group, a rookie who already looks like a future star. Cooper DeJean brings versatility. Jacorian Bennett came over in a trade, and you don't make that move unless you plan to keep him. McWilliams is a fourth-round pick who has started to settle in at outside corner. All of them feel safe. But then you look at players like Khalil Ringo, Eli Ricks, and Adoree Jackson. Any one of those three could make the roster, but none of them are guaranteed. Ringo's quad injury, his shaky reps in the preseason opener, and his overall decline in first-team snaps are red flags. Jackson hasn't exactly seized the opportunity either, but he has the veteran experience to keep him in the conversation. Ricks is long, athletic, and intriguing, but he hasn't proven enough to be beyond doubt. It wouldn't be shocking if Philadelphia kept two, cut one, or even explored a trade involving any of them. And of course, the front office is always scanning the waiver wire for surprise cuts from cornerback-rich teams elsewhere in the league. On offense, the quarterback competition for the third spot continues to be one of the most watched storylines. Kyle McCord has had moments, flashes of poise when given reps with the second unit, and he clearly sits above Dorian Thompson-Robinson right now. But flashes alone do not guarantee a roster spot. The question becomes whether the Eagles value having a third quarterback active on Sundays when depth is needed so much at other positions. Historically, Philadelphia has been comfortable carrying two quarterbacks and then protecting another on the practice squad. That decision is magnified now because the team is stacked at receiver, corner, and linebacker, and those are spots where keeping an extra player could prove far more valuable during the grind of a 17-game season. So while Hurts and McKee are locked in, McCord and Thompson-Robinson have to treat this Jets game like their Super Bowl. Every read, every throw, every drive is a chance to prove they deserve to stick. Running back is no less complicated. Saquon Barkley is the centerpiece, and Will Shipley's versatility has made him a lock behind Barkley. But A.J. Dillon is the tricky piece. His power running style brings something unique, yet roster construction is about more than just skill. If the Eagles need another corner, another lineman, or another receiver, Dillon could be the casualty. The staff gave him work early in the preseason for a reason. They wanted to evaluate if his role was worth protecting on the final roster. He looked solid against Cincinnati, but his limited opportunities against Cleveland left questions. How the coaches view his contributions on special teams, his pass protection, and his ability to stay fresh over the long haul may decide his fate. And if he doesn't make the roster, there's a real chance Philadelphia tries to stash him on the practice squad thanks to his veteran status. Receiver is even messier. A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith are your stars. Jahan Dotson is safe, and the front office made a big statement by trading for John Mechie. That leaves Darius Cooper, Aeneas Smith, and Johnny Wilson fighting for the last spots. Cooper has arguably done everything asked of him. First-team reps, plays in practice, chemistry with Jalen Hurts, even contributing on special teams. It's all there. Wilson's injury throws his entire situation into uncertainty. If he starts the season on the PUP list, maybe that opens the door for Smith or another player. But if the staff believes in his upside, they may hold the roster spot open. Smith meanwhile, has shown flashes but not enough consistency. That's the painful part of these decisions. These are talented young receivers, and only one or two may survive when the dust settles. It's the kind of depth problem every team wants to have, but no player wants to experience. At tight end, the Eagles seem content to lean heavily on Dallas Goedert, with Grant Calcaterra serving as his complement. Only keeping two on the initial roster is risky, but Philadelphia has managed that strategy before, relying on practice squad call-ups to bridge the gap. That means Kylan Grandson and E.J. Jenkins are not just fighting each other, but fighting the roster numbers game. If the front office decides they need extra depth elsewhere, neither makes it. If an injury pops up in the final game, maybe one slides in. That's why every snap against the Jets matters. One block, one big catch, even one special teams tackle could shift the scales. The offensive line, the heart of this team, is mostly settled. The starters are established, and Drew Kendall and Matt Pryor bring depth and versatility. But beyond them, it's a gauntlet of competition. Cameron Williams is intriguing as a developmental piece. Miles Hinton has struggled, but remains in the mix. Kendall Lamb has experience. Trevor Keegan can play multiple spots. And Sean Derek Powell is that hidden gem the coaching staff doesn't want to expose too much tape on. The numbers game here is brutal. Philadelphia has to balance proven versatility with long-term potential, and every rep in this final preseason game is an audition. Defensively, the Eagles look powerful on the line. Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis give Philadelphia one of the scariest young duos in the league. Ty Robinson has turned heads, and Gabe Hall has worked his way from undrafted to roster-lock territory. That leaves Byron Young and Jacob Sykes on the bubble. Both have flashed, but when you're stacked up against Carter and Davis, those flashes have to be consistent, not occasional. At edge, Nolan Smith, Josh Uche, and Azeez Ojulari are locked in, but Patrick Johnson is the player everyone is watching. He's produced splash plays all preseason, sacks, interceptions, tackles for loss, instincts you can't ignore. Yet because of draft politics and depth, his spot isn't guaranteed. Antoine Powell-Ryland has been quiet, but draft investment carries weight. Philadelphia has to decide if performance outweighs draft status, or if they keep both and sacrifice depth elsewhere. Linebacker is a strength, which hasn't been the case in Philadelphia for years. Zach Bond is the steady presence. Jahad Campbell has shown great instincts. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. brings the legacy and talent, and Smail Mondon has proven himself as a young piece with range. This is a group deeper than most expected, and the challenge for the coaching staff is figuring out which combinations work best together. It's not just about talent, but about fit, communication, and chemistry. The first game against Dallas is already looming, and the coaches need to know who will start alongside Bond in the middle. Cornerback remains the drama center. Quinyon Mitchell has superstar potential. Cooper DeJean brings versatility and energy. Jacorian Bennett is a lock because of the trade, and McWilliams has carved out a spot. Then the question marks begin. Khalil Ringo, once thought of as a long-term outside corner, now sits on the edge of the roster thanks to his injury and uneven play. Eli Ricks has length and upside, but hasn't convinced the staff he's ready for prime time. Adoree Jackson's veteran presence hasn't translated into strong preseason performances. It wouldn't shock anyone if Philadelphia kept all three, cut one, or even moved one in a trade. And with cut-down day around the corner, Roseman's eyes will be glued to the waiver wire for other corners who may become available. That's how quickly things can change for players who thought they had a spot secured. Safety is starting to sort itself out. Reed Blankenship is steady. Andrew Makuba has lived up to his billing, and Sidney Brown brings energy. Andre Sam's emergence may push Tristan McCullum out, which is something nobody predicted at the start of camp. That's what competition does. It reshapes expectations. Brandon Johnson in the slot is interesting, but the more likely scenario is a practice squad role where he can continue to develop without costing a roster spot. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The sports world is buzzing with speculation and excitement after the Philadelphia Eagles reportedly secured Trevor Lawrence as their quarterback of the future, a move that has instantly sent shockwaves across the NFL landscape. Fans are already painting visions of a new era under the guidance of Lawrence, whose reputation as a poised and dynamic passer precedes him. Rumors suggest that the Eagles' front office has been meticulously planning this acquisition for months, aiming to solidify their long-term strategy with a player whose talent, leadership, and work ethic are widely praised. Conversations in locker rooms and among sports analysts are dominated by projections of how Lawrence's presence could transform the team's offensive schemes, rejuvenate the franchise's fan base, and influence coaching decisions. While no official announcement has been confirmed, insiders hint that this strategic move is part of a broader plan to build a championship-contending roster around a young, franchise-altering quarterback. The anticipation surrounding Lawrence's debut in Philadelphia is already creating a narrative that blends hope, expectation, and curiosity, making fans and commentators alike speculate about the immediate impact he will have on the team's dynamics and morale. There is a pervasive sense that this acquisition is more than a routine roster change. It is being perceived as a defining moment in the organization's pursuit of sustained excellence, and whispers suggest that executives are carefully calibrating every detail to maximize the potential success of their new quarterback. Amid this whirlwind of excitement and conjecture, Trevor Lawrence's potential integration into the Eagles' offensive system is a focal point for analysts, fans, and rival teams. The rumors circulating indicate that the coaching staff is already envisioning how to tailor their playbook to capitalize on Lawrence's strengths, particularly his arm strength, accuracy, and decision-making under pressure. Speculation has it that informal meetings and private discussions have been underway to evaluate the best approach to surrounding him with complementary talent, including wide receivers, running backs, and offensive linemen capable of maximizing his skills. Conversations among insiders suggest that the Eagles are determined to avoid the pitfalls of hastily implemented quarterback transitions, instead opting for a gradual, methodical approach that nurtures Lawrence's growth while maintaining competitive performance on the field. Social media chatter and fan forums are awash with predictions of breakout performances, game-winning drives, and the possibility of a franchise renaissance led by a quarterback who is widely regarded as a generational talent. Even rival teams are reportedly adjusting their scouting reports and defensive schemes, anticipating Lawrence's arrival as a transformative factor. While official statements remain scarce, the sheer volume of speculation underscores the collective belief that Lawrence's signing is a signal of ambition, a declaration that the Eagles intend to reshape the trajectory of the team around a player whose ceiling seems nearly limitless in the eyes of enthusiasts and commentators alike, creating an electrifying atmosphere that is as much about potential as it is about immediate results. The potential ramifications of Trevor Lawrence joining the Eagles extend far beyond the locker room, with fans, sports media, and commentators already dissecting the strategic, commercial, and cultural impacts. Sources hint that ticket sales, merchandise revenue, and national viewership could see a significant uptick once the rumors solidify into official confirmation, as Lawrence's marketability is nearly as renowned as his on-field capabilities. There is speculation that this move may influence draft strategies, free agency acquisitions, and even the career trajectories of other players on the roster, as the team positions itself to support a young quarterback with championship aspirations. Insider chatter suggests that behind-the-scenes negotiations and subtle positioning within the league may have played a crucial role in securing Lawrence, reflecting the high stakes and meticulous planning that accompany such high-profile acquisitions. Fans in Philadelphia and across the country are reportedly envisioning epic rivalries, memorable highlight reel plays, and the potential for playoff heroics, fueling a narrative that Lawrence could become not only the face of the franchise, but a cultural icon for a new generation of football enthusiasts. Analysts are debating the nuances of this potential acquisition, from offensive line adjustments to scheme innovations, projecting a season filled with intrigue, suspense, and the dramatic unfolding of what could become one of the most watched quarterback narratives in recent memory. As the sports media continues to dissect every potential scenario, the persistent murmur is that Lawrence's arrival might catalyze a domino effect across the league, elevating expectations and intensifying the scrutiny placed on both him and the organization, creating a compelling mix of hope, tension, and fervent anticipation that continues to dominate headlines. Meanwhile, whispers and speculation surrounding Trevor Lawrence's role as the future cornerstone of the Eagles have intensified as insiders hint at strategic decisions shaping the franchise's immediate and long-term trajectory. Rumors suggest that training camp, coaching sessions, and even casual team interactions are being subtly reoriented to accommodate and accelerate Lawrence's adaptation to the Eagles' culture, playbook, and organizational philosophy. Observers claim that the coaching staff is quietly exploring innovations in offensive schemes that would highlight Lawrence's strengths, while also protecting him from the risks that young quarterbacks often face in high-stakes situations. Fan communities are awash with imaginative projections, discussing potential breakout games, record-breaking statistics, and defining moments that could cement Lawrence as the unequivocal leader of the team. Even speculation surrounding the locker room dynamic suggests that veteran players might be mentoring Lawrence, preparing him for the pressures of leading a franchise in one of the most competitive divisions in professional football. Industry insiders hint that this move might also influence rival teams' preparations, potentially reshaping defensive strategies across the league as opponents anticipate the arrival of a quarterback capable of dictating game outcomes with precision and poise. In parallel, the sports media is amplifying every subtle gesture, statement, or appearance associated with Lawrence, interpreting them as signals of readiness, adaptability, and potential leadership style. Rumor mills indicate that both local and national attention will converge on the Eagles in unprecedented ways, with expectations mounting, pressure intensifying, and excitement reaching levels rarely seen, painting a vivid tableau of anticipation, suspense, and intrigue that elevates the narrative of Lawrence as more than just a player. He is perceived as the linchpin of a transformative era in Philadelphia football history. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.